afternoon. I would like to call this meeting to order, and I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Carrie Linklater. I'm your chairperson today. I am joined on the panel by Mr. Maurice Fearon to my left, and my far left, Mr. Richard Whitbread. Our city assessor today is Brittany Santucci, and our admin secretary is Ms. Fede Aziz. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. Statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record.
Would you like to start on the record? I'll swear. Please state your full name, Brittany Santucci, and you swear the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Would you like to start? Please state your full name, and you affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reimer and Ms. Santucci, and whenever you're ready, start us off on the first property.
Thank you. This is file number 19-3193. Roll number 14003-190100. Address is 550 McPhillips Street. This is a vacant commercial land parcel. We have a zoning of C3 on it and a land area of 391,501 square feet. If you turn to page 2, I have some aerial shots of the lot. It's a very large lot with a bit of an abnormal shape. Located on McPhillips in between Selkirk, I think it's Jarvis. If you turn to page 3, we have a subject sale history which we're not taking into account here today. Land valuation, our model net rate per square foot is $9.49 that's applied. I have land sale comparables. I have 8 of them. They range from $10.11 to $28.43. Obviously with the highest one being location in the Pole Park area. Comparables 6 and 8 are unserviced, and our model net rate falls within this range. On the bottom of page 3, I just have a snapshot of the aerial shots of the comparables. Comparable 1 is located in the south end of the city in Bridgewater. On page 4, I have comparable 2, also located in Bridgewater. Comparable 4 is located down Main Street in the Riverbend area, and comparable 5 is located in the Pole Park area. Comparable 6 is located down McPhillips, pretty far would be North McPhillips. Comparable 7 is located off McPhillips, again in the north side of McPhillips near Templeton. And comparable 8 is also located down McPhillips, farther down. Page 6 is my municipal assessment act excerpt, and my recommendation today is to maintain the 2020 assessed value of $3,715,000. Thank you. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Santucci, so comparables 1, 2, and 3, those are the land transactions relating to the brand new commercial development in the new development of Bridgewater, correct?
Yes.
You alluded to it. So we can agree that those parcels were purchased and development occurred very, very quickly as part of that Bridgewater development?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with respect to comparable number 4, again, that's part of River Grove, and we can agree that that property or that land was purchased and development happened again very quickly with the retail development, as I understand it, correct?
Yes.
And again, you've alluded to 875 St. James, that's directly across from, across Maroons Road from Pole Park Shopping Center.
Yes.
Okay, so that one, and you were very forthright in your comments, that one, as far as comparability, really doesn't compare to the subject as far as location, correct?
Just size, not
Location. Yeah, certainly, I'd agree with your assessment that by Pole Park there, it's going to carry one big premium. Comp 6 and 8, so these are the land transactions. If I could then refer you to the map that you provided, and I appreciate you providing the maps on your page 5.
Yes.
So comparable 6 and 8, comparable 6 is the northern parcel shown at the top, comparable 8 is the southern parcel shown at the bottom picture. And those are commercial sites associated with the brand new Aurora development up in that region, correct?
It would be, yeah, they would be fronting up the development.
So yeah, so like that development that you see in those two comparables to the east, that's the new residential development known as Aurora on North Point, I believe it's called. Okay. So again, that's a brand new up and coming residential development, correct? Okay. And the Templeton, the comp 7, that is to the immediate east of that parcel. Jim Gautier's GM dealership is just to the east of it, correct?
Yes.
And what's been developed, if I understand correctly, on this parcel was again by Jim Gautier for his auto body shop, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in fact, Jim Gauthier, that group of companies owned the parcel to the east, bought the parcel to the west, and then developed it with an auto body shop right by his own pre-existing property.
Yes, there's other
Okay. So finally, Ms. Santucci, we can agree. So if we go to your page 2 in the top aerial shot, we can agree that to the west and the south and the north and the east and southeast, these are the western shops, and that's all industrial zone property, correct?
Yes, to that.
Okay, so this is, for lack of a better term, this is sort of an island, for whatever historical reason, an island of C2 zone land within a much bigger area that's zoned industrial, correct?
Yes, I would assume it was zoned C2 because of the previous development on it as well.
Okay. Are you aware of what previous development that was prior to?
There was a hotel from my understanding.
Okay. And the zoning was never changed after that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitman.
On page 2, your middle diagram, trying to determine if those are some sort of hydroelectric towers.
Yes, the parcel to the, what would be north of it is the hydro station. Yes.
Okay. So that would be, diagrams are different perspectives, so it makes it tough to stay on track here, doesn't it? Okay, I think I've got that perspective. So north and then west would be the rail lines.
Yes, and then south is the casino.
Is that directly south of that property there?
Yes, it would be.
With what appears to be a roadway in between?
I think it's a train track in between. Or I don't know if it's utilized as a train track, but
Yeah,
it looks to be
may have
a
been
train
at one
track.
time,
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I've got my perspective straight here.
Thank you.
Any of those prices on page 3 time adjusted?
None of them are time adjusted.
Okay. And you mentioned that columns 6 and 8 were unserviced.
Yes.
Would any of the others be unserviced as well, would you know?
I checked all the other ones when they sold, they were all serviced.
They were all serviced?
Yes.
So would only, so therefore 6 and 8 would be the only unserviced?
Yes.
Now you talked about the odd shape of this lot. Yeah, I can see on page 2. And I don't know if that's much different to the comparables.
Most of my comparables are more of a rectangular shape. I think only the one comparable one is a bit of a different shape, but I would say this one, ours is more of a triangular.
Okay. And most of your comparables have, I don't know if that's correct, but there's a lot of buildings around it.
Yes.
From what I can see compared to this one.
So I would say,
Is that fair?
I would say like that would be the reason they were higher sales, even considering they were time adjusted. So, like the two lowest sales I have are the two unserviced lots that are probably in the least developed areas, because even the Templeton lot is in a developed area. The Walmart's around there. There's an apartment, I can't remember if it's an apartment or a condo block, and then all of Jingo Chase current development there.
Thank you, that's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I think you just indicated that on this lot previously had been a hotel.
Yes.
Do you know when that was demolished?
I would want to say at least 10 years ago.
Okay. So, so this has been vacant then for 10?
It's just been a parking lot, I think, for the casino, is what it is. But nothing has been developed since then.
Okay. And I'm assuming your 949 is model driven?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all my
May
questions.
I ask one more?
Absolutely.
We have evidence, you said, sworn value in 2010 was $10,600,000.
Yes.
Was that the time at which Manitoba Liquor Lotteries bought the property?
It would have been the last time it sold to them. I just, from what I read in the notes, it's not there was other things that went into that sale, so it's not considered, I don't think, a market.
So it wasn't just that?
I don't know all of what was included in it. I was just informed it was not to be used to kind of justify this value we're here today.
Right. And was there a hotel at that time?
There
Part of
was,
it?
I think they purchased it and then it was demolished after, from my understanding. But
Okay. So we need to put the accordingly on that. Thank you. That's.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan, would you like to proceed?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So if we could initially turn to my page 3, please, with the aerial shot. And I know Ms. Whipper had asked about this, so what we've got is the subject irregular parcel of land, and then this is it's a pretty significantly sized hydro substation directly to the north, and to the south, as Ms. Santucci had indicated, that's where the casino is. To the east of the subject, there's some industrial buildings, and to the south, it's cut off on that picture, but to the southeast as you approach Jarvis Avenue, there's more industrial properties. Now, I had mentioned, Madam Chair, that this parcel was sort of an island in amongst all the industrial zoning, and this is, unfortunately, I don't have it in my brief, but this is all the industrial zoning, which makes sense because you've got the western yards, as we talked about, to the west and to the southeast, and then you've got industrial development all along Jarvis and up in Phillips. Interestingly enough, the industrial zoning is what's in place for the casino as well, but it is a conforming use. So that's important because my suggestion this afternoon, and Ms. Santucci has certainly provided this board with comparables that have the C zoning. But my point is this, and that was related to the questions I had. I'm going to suggest that those comparables, without exception, are far superior to the subject and out there with the Bridgewater, with the River Grove, and with the New Aurora and North Point development. Those are all either extremely well-developed residential areas or very much up-and-coming, such as Aurora. But in the case of Bridgewater, in the case of River Grove, these are very, very well-established, very high-demand areas that result in the kind of prices you see there for commercial development. This subject parcel is certainly not. This location for this parcel, the shape has an impact, but it's certainly the location of the property. It was suggesting it just wouldn't command the same kind of price as these commercial properties in these either up and coming or very well established and in-demand neighborhoods. So what we've got is the parcel as I've indicated, and if we turn then to page 7, please. And what you'll see with our transactions, our suggestions as far as the sales, there is a mix of sales with zoning that's both industrial, the M2 zoning, C3, and a couple with A zoning. And I'll hardly talk about these in sequence, but certainly the range, the industrial zone properties would be subject to the same sorts of uses that the subject would be under the C zoning for the most part, not heavy industrial, but certainly for a warehouse type use or lighter industrial or regular commercial. The M2 zoning would have a lot of the same requirements and permissions associated with the developments. And given that where the subject's located, we thought that these transactions were in fact very relevant. As you can see on the chart on page 7, they range from a low of $459 a foot up to a high of $867 a foot. And based upon those transactions and given the new location and irregular shape of the subject, we're suggesting a rate of $650 per square foot, which is consistent with the sort of the middle of the range in those transactions that we've listed there. So in the case of, and I'll go through each of the transactions then. If we turn initially to page 11 is the board order from relating to the 2018 appeal of the subject property. Then turning to page 13. So this is our index number 1, and if the map of that property is shown on page 14. It's at Burroughs, just east of the corner of Kuwait Street. And in this case, it was 2.2 acres of industrial land that sold for $867 a square foot. This is obviously a rectangle-shaped lot, a regular-shaped lot, and you can see it's located. If you looked at our property, it's not showing up exactly on the map, but it's to the north and west of the corner of Jarvis and McPhillips, which is at the lower right-hand corner of this map. So it is in the same general area as the subject. Then if you go on to 657 Jarvis, that's on page number 16, or index number 2. So this is an industrial land sale that is just to the east of the subject along Jarvis Avenue at the corner of Mackenzie Street. And again, this is a rectangular shaped parcel that's traded for a price of $7.18 a square foot to the east of the subject. Then you've got Hutching Street. This was a larger parcel, 7.3 acres. That sold for $689 a square foot, and the map again is shown on page 19. Again, this will be to the north and west of the subject being located just south of the corner of Selkirk and Phillips, towards the lower end of the map on that view. Then we've got a sale on Inksbrook Drive, page 20. This is a sale at $5.82 a square foot for 4.5 acres of land, and this transaction, or this property, as you can see on page 21, it's a rectangular shaped property that's located at the corner of Inksbrook and Inkster Boulevard, and providing that for the board's reference. Then you've got next the 2624 Inkster Boulevard. This was a transaction, a parcel of land, 9.7 acres. So again, a larger parcel of land that sold for $5.42 a square foot. This land was zoned C3. And if you look at page 23, what you'll see is that this is a parcel of land that's just south of the previous parcel in Inksbrook. It's located just off Brookside Boulevard on Inkster, just to the east of the corner of Inkster and Brookside. The property, another property on Inkster, my index number 6, on pages 24 and 25, that was property sold for $5.25 a square foot. And that, as you can see on the map on page 25, is located at the corner of Inkster Boulevard and King Edward Street. Index number 7 is located at pages 26 and 27. 5 acres of agricultural zone land that sold for $4.59 a square foot. And as you can see on page 27, this is a parcel that is located to the north of the previous parcel, just north of the corner of Inkster and King Edward Street. I certainly will state in no uncertain terms that in order to develop that property, one would have to get the zoning changed from agricultural. There would be any kind of development that would be permitted for the zoning as is. But it is a service parcel, and certainly I would anticipate that it would not be, given the right development plan, rezoning would be forthcoming from the city administration of that particular parcel. So, with those sales in mind, and given the location of the subject, the irregular shape, and the indicators that I've mentioned, and we're suggesting a rate of $6.50 a square foot, which is approaching towards the upper end of the range, but certainly I think well justified for the subject property for the April 1, 2018 reference date. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Is there any, I guess, prior to the reference date, was there any development planned, or has it just been used as a parking lot?
Just used as a parking lot.
Okay. And I guess in regards to the zoning, if something were developed, I'm assuming it wouldn't be an industrial sort of...
Actually, I think it would be.
You think it would be?
I absolutely think it would be.
Okay.
I don't think a commercial, sort of a retail type of development is viable, and that's, and we've mentioned that the hotel was torn down, and there's, I believe it would be, if it were to be purchased and developed, I believe industrial development would serve the parcel well, more so than commercial.
So not another hotel or anything?
No. Okay.
That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Is there currently a hotel attached to the casino, do you know?
They're on the other side of...
There's a parking structure.
I know.
South
Oh, you know
side.
what? Okay, so the way I recall it, they were thinking about it and it didn't happen.
Okay.
There's a hotel in Club Lee, that's the one I'm thinking about?
Yeah, Canadian.
Exactly, precisely.
Sure.
So,
with that classification of C3, because it had a hotel, would it allow a hotel to be built there again?
oh, it would, absolutely.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. I'm suggesting it's not, I'm suggesting that it's not feasible, but is it legally possible?
Legally
Absolutely, absolutely.
So in your view then, if I was an investor, would I view this land differently? Looking at that C3 with a casino nearby, might that make me think, not a bad property for investment?
Except, I'm going to suggest this. If that was the case, the hotel development should have happened already. That casino's been there for a while. And I would suggest to you that hotel would have already been either on this site or a site around it to capture that market.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Tyrion?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's because I was figuring something out. Any of these comparables serviced?
They all, in fact, they all are.
They all are serviced?
If you look, so I'll give you an example. So let's go to,
Well, I'll take your word for it.
no, but it's important to understand where I get that. So page 13 as an example. So you see the water frontage measurement and sewer frontage measurement there, 245 feet?
Yep.
That's confirming that the services are in place for the parcel. You'll see that on all the parcels.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, the other is, well, I was looking at the acreage because it's 9 acres. And I know you've got a combination here of vacant industrial and so on. And page 18, you had, in this one, you had 689. So obviously, I think if I looked at your average on, so that was one that it was more of the size. If I looked at your average though on your comparables, it's around $7, isn't it? Of the comparables you provided? Although there's Dallas some are $4.59, others are $8.67.
I can quickly confirm.
I think I did that.
Okay, then I will.
That's
take it.
okay.
Yep, that's
No,
good.
I was, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
So, but you still chose to go 650.
Yeah, so the size, the comps, indices number 1 and 2, you'll see that the land areas are much smaller.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, Jarvis it's a very small parcel of land, but it's also closest to the subject, so there's always, I'm suggesting, you've got to factor all of these things in, but it is, 14,000 feet is obviously way smaller than 9 acres, so the 650 was chosen based on configuration, location, and size, sort of all three of those. But, if the average is $7, I mean, something in that range would make a lot of sense to me, put it that way.
Okay, because I also see, I always looked at time adjusted, and those 4 and 5 are 2011 and 2012.
Yeah.
I'm assuming land must have gone up in that period.
I don't make
I don't know if
assumptions.
that's the right assumption.
I don't make assumptions without, again, with the data, but if you're looking at it, the bottom two transactions, granted, they're A zoning, but they're also much closer in size, and they're closer to $5 a foot. And then you've got the Jarvis, which is index number 2, again, a much smaller parcel, but in the same area, in the same sort of industrial area, much smaller parcel at $7, and that one was in June of 17, very close to the reference date. So I'm certainly comfortable with the 650, but I'm not disagreeing with you that those two sales indexes, 4 and 5 specifically, are, we're talking about 4 or 5 years past the reference date, or 5, 6 years past the reference date.
Okay, that's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And my questions have been asked and answered. So,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you. And we'll go on to 3586 Portage.
This is file number 19-3254, roll number 07569-026800, address is 3586 Portage Avenue. This is a vacant commercial property, zone C3, land area is 40,644 square feet. So if you turn to my page 2, you can see that the subject property is located off of Portage Avenue, but it is a different shaped lot with narrow access off of Portage to the back rear lot. There was a sale. Let's see here, my sales on the next page. If you turn to page 3, I have a subject sale history that sold August 3rd, 2017. And it sold for $13.60 per square foot. The land rate that we were given by the model, the net rate per square foot, was $17.79. My 3 comparables are located on Portage Avenue. They would be considered superior. They were more of a rectangular square shapes, located more possible for development. After taking this all into account, my recommendation today is actually to reduce the value, the 2020 assessed value, from the $723,000 to $584,000, which was the 2018 land value of $14.37.
Sorry, 584?
So $584,000, and it's using the rate of $14.37. Thank you, that's my presentation.
Thank you.
We agree.
Thank you. And 228 King.
Thank you. This is file number 19-1884, roll number 13080-113000, address is 228 King Street. This is a vacant commercial property, zone C. The land area is 14,231 square feet. If you turn to page 2, I have some aerial shots of the property. It's located on King Street in between Alexander Avenue and Pacific Avenue in Winnipeg's, will be the Exchange District, the west side, northwest, I should say, and Northwest Exchange portion. We have a subject sale from 2013 for $590,000. This is 5 years prior to the reference date. It was a multi-roll sale, sold with another vacant lot. Combined, it was the $590,000, and the total square footage was 19,181 square feet, which works out to $30.76 per square foot for that multi-roll sale. If you turn to page 3, I have the land valuation summary. There's the net rate per square foot of $34.99 that's used, model generated rate. I have 7 land sale comparables. I tried to find ones that were closest to the subject. Some of them are a bit smaller, and a few of them are a bit larger. I'll just point out the comparable number 5 on Higgins was purchased for the land and the building was demoed. They're all fee simple arm's length. They range from $18.33 all the way up to $46.10. Some of the zoning is a bit different. Only comparables 1, 2, and 4 zoned C, the same as the subject property. Comparables 3, 5, and 6 are zoned M and are also located in the downtown area. On page 3 at the bottom, I have comparable 1. Its location is on Adelaide. It would be southwest of the subject property. I have comparable 2 in close proximity to the subject, just north of it. Comparable 3 is located southwest of the subject. And comparable 4 is located north of the subject. Comparable 5 is also located north of the subject on the edge of the, I guess what would be the exchange for the railroad tracks. And comparable 6, I think is located, it's located north of the subject, and then comparable 7 is actually it's mostly west of the subject, located closer to Isabel Street. On page 6, I have my Municipal Assessment Act activities, and I just want to point out none of my sales are time adjusted. And my recommendation today is to maintain the 2020 assessed value of $498,000. Thank you, that's my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Ryan?
Thanks, Madam Chair. And to be clear, for the benefit of the board, Ms. Santucci, the C zoning here in this area means character and not C as in commercial. That's upright?
Yes.
Okay. And again, the M zoning means M multiple.
Yes.
Okay. So just so the board is clear, C and M mean very, very different things for these downtown properties than they do for the suburban stuff. So C is not commercial, it's character. And M is not industrial, it's actually multiple use. So that's can be confusing if one's not familiar with the sort of monikers for these things. Ms. Santucci, we actually both have your index number 5, 221 Higgins.
Yes.
We both have that in our sales comparables. That is a transaction that occurred. One of the 3 of them that occurred nearest the reference date, but also is closest in size to the subject, correct?
Yes.
And it's located at the corner of Higgins and King Street, like you say, sort of on the northern edge of the Exchange District. Okay. And you've alluded to it, and we agree with the circumstances you said of it. The subject was purchased, and it was a motivated purchase of 2 parcels with the intent of ultimately assembling this land for a senior's residence. We agree on that as well, correct? Okay. Thanks, Madam Chair. Those are my only questions.
Thank you. Mr. Bickford?
So you referenced 2 properties.
Yes.
I split this, 2 properties on sale in
Yes.
2013. And if I split this property out, it would suggest that $30.76 it was purchased for $437,700 back in 2013. Can you confirm my math?
So you wanted to...
I'm taking $14,000 out of the $19,000
okay.
sale, which would tell me that about $5,000, a little bit less than $5,000 was the other property. And I'm using your $30.76 price against the $14,231. square feet to get 437.7. So it was purchased for that back in 2013, 6 years ago.
If you split it out, we looked at it more as just combining the actual sale price divided by the total land. So,
Understand.
but that's, if you were to split it out, that would be correct,
I'm
yes.
trying to look at the square foot value for this property.
Yes.
This property is the one in question, it's not the other property.
Yes,
right?
just this one.
Okay. That's all my questions, Madam Chair.
I had a similar question, not quite the same, but really my question on the multi-role sale was, or to the two lots, similar, that is, similar, maybe not in size, but the use, what in the sale of February 2013. Could you tell us? Because
It's actually just the lot to the west of it, and can't tell if you can
basically what I'm trying to find out, are we looking at same kind of a parcel of land, although it might be smaller?
It would be a narrower lot, but yes, the same type of parcel line, just it could be used as parking potentially if you were to develop
Yeah,
the bigger
right.
portion of it.
But the multi-role, okay. That's all my question I had, so that'll add up to my colleague's question. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're talking about the second lot, is it this little bit on page 2 of your brief at the top?
I think it's the one directly to the west of it, the skinnier lot. Because there's a building on the one skinny lot that is more fronting on Alexander.
Oh, so there's,
It's the one in the middle.
sort of going like this way?
Yes.
Direction? It's hard to see. Okay.
Oh, I see, the roof line is in the way.
Yeah, it's so hard when you get the aerial shot because you can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
it works.
It's this way.
Um,
The other.
How long has this been vacant for?
If I'm remembering this correctly, this used to be the Shanghai building, so it's been vacant for a while. Because I can't remember the last time I was at Shanghai. I feel like that was 8 years, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay. And again,
And from what I could tell, they weren't like there's no proposed current permits to develop on this. So,
okay. And again, page 3, your net rate of $34.99 is low.
yes.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Ryan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I can help a wee bit with that question. I think Ms. Santucci's exactly right. I believe it was 2010 or 2011 when that Shanghai restaurant was demolished. If I could initially, I'm going to jump around too much, but if I could ask the board members and Ms. Santucci to go to our page 11. It just talks about that. I've alluded to in my questioning to the fact, Ms. Santucci, to the fact that this was purchased as part of a land assembly, and this is the article that was from 2011 that talks about the purchase of the property and replacing the Shanghai restaurant with the assisted living seniors residence in it. So that is ultimately the plan, and the restaurant, I believe, was taken down right at that time on page 12. Is actually some council minutes. So actually, I think it was in 2012 when the restaurant was actually demolished. So, as I say, this was purchased, and it was a multiple sale purchase with the intent to develop seniors' residence. But of course, both fundraising and financing arrangements have to be made, and those have not quite come to fruition to date. So it is still a parcel of vacant land. I had mentioned, if I could ask the board members in this Santucci to go to page 7. I had mentioned the transaction on Higgins, and actually I apologize, I thought I had that in my materials and I don't, but that transaction at 2648 was it's a parcel that is not as well located because it's further north, but I'm certainly suggesting with the land size, the fact that this was a motivated transaction for the parcel, and given the size and location of it, if one looks at that 2648 purchase price and applies a premium to that for the location of this property, the $30 rate that I'm suggesting would be supported by that. I've attached some there's 5 other transactions that I have attached, but certainly with the Higgins transaction further north and the location of the subject, I'm suggesting $30 to be supported by those transactions and ask the board to order accordingly. So the assessed value then that I'm requesting would be $427,000, and that is our request this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
The only question is that just so, the sales you're relying on, so you're not putting as much weight on index 4 and 5 then?
Index 4 is a larger parcel. I mean, it's a lot of weight, no, some weight.
Okay.
Looking at all these transactions and the Higgins transaction,
So the newer,
yeah, but not, certainly not suggesting $18, and certainly not suggesting the $10.
Okay.
Those are lower. Yeah.
that's all my questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitford?
So I'll just carry my question on to you then,
Yes.
and look at that $437,000 sale in 2013. Would you agree that my math has some semblance of order to it?
Yeah.
So this property has been sitting vacant since then,
Yeah,
obviously.
they've been, I know what they've been doing is fundraising, looking for, per that article on page 11,
Right.
that's part of the fundraising announcement.
Yeah.
They're just not there yet.
Okay. So would that property have dropped in value over
No.
that time?
No.
No. Would it have increased in value?
No, I don't believe, I think it would have been very, very close to that. So, because, and again, the purchase itself was very motivated by the Farnsville's residents, so that was a purchaser that had their own peculiar motivations, and therefore typically that there will be a premium on the price, especially when there's a business that's already established and you're trying to suggest to that business to, they want to buy the property and they need to move on or cease operations, so there would have been a premium attached to that. Therefore, I'm suggesting that that premium would not have resulted in a further increase in value from that date to the present date, because I think a premium was already paid back in 13.
Okay. May I offer a fun fact, Madam Chair?
As long as you're not
It's
giving,
relevant.
but as long as you're not giving evidence.
Oh, no. And I'm not promoting anything either. Shanghai,
strictly fun.
Hai Shang, has resurrected itself as a new restaurant in the city in the South End, which is a takeoff of the Shanghai name. So it hasn't disappeared forever.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is a fun fact.
that is a fun fact. I
And
just
what is-
discovered that 2 weeks ago.
And what is the location?
No, I can't tell you. South end of the city.
All right.
Google it.
Very good.
Yeah, there you go. No further.
I gotta move in my territory here because he's put a line here between the two of us. He put a,
Getting kind of close.
yeah, get close, two lefties. I don't know on your page 7, I don't know what kind of weight we can put on your comparables. They're so, I'd say, a little bit all over the place. And I'm not being negative,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying
fair
that
enough.
I don't find them very helpful, I guess, in trying to pin down the price.
Well, and actually, I guess I'm suggesting I'm agreeing with Mr. Whitbread's math, and also that 221 Higgins that Ms. Santucci had submitted, I thought I had that in my materials as well. Bluntly, Mr. Therian, I would ask the board to give it the weight that they think it deserves in the context of all the facts of the case. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay. I didn't want to be disrespectful.
No. Please, by all means.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.
Whenever you are ready, say your address.
This is file number 19-2622, roll number 13060878000. This is a vacant commercial property, zone C. Land area is 6,760 square feet. So if we turn to page 2, the lot's located on Main Street. It previously was used as a parking lot, and as to my knowledge, it's no longer, it can be used as a parking lot. There is a subject sale history. We didn't take that into consideration with the sale price of $1, sworn value is different. If you turn to my page 3, I have a land valuation summary that shows the net rate of $95.56 per square foot that was applied by the model. I reviewed land sale comparables. I have 9 of them here. Some of them would be considered superior based on being more in the, I guess what would be kind of like that shed district now in the downtown near the MTS Center. And my sales range from $69.21 all the way up to $142.28. Based on some of the evidence provided here today, and I know there's been other decisions on this property, and kind of just the fact that the only option is to develop it and not use it as a parking lot, my recommendation today is actually to reduce the 2020 assessed value from $646,000 to $473,000 at about $70 a square foot. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Based on?
So it would be based on the $70 we're using, which is lower than the model rate of the 95. So the 95 would be applied to a lot that I would say would be a bit more maybe superior to this one. Currently this lot's been vacant for a while, nothing has been developed on it, and there's no potential development, or there's been nothing proposed to be developed on it, and it's no longer able to generate any income. So, thank you. Thank you.
We're in agreement with $473,000.
Thank you. And, sorry, Mr. Whitford, did you have any questions?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Did you
I
have
think she
questions on
gave a good
this?
explanation, that's fine, thank you.
And please keep the record.
Thank you. This is file number 19-2981, roll number 13096-035100. Address is 360 Hargrave Street. This is a vacant commercial property, zone D for downtown living. Land area is 35,997 square feet. If you turn to page 2, I have some aerial shots of the property. So it's located on Hargrave. It's quite a large rectangular lot. So these pictures show some, you can see there was old parking signs, but currently, I actually had done this for department. I had taken the parking lot off because this lot also no longer is allowing parking to be used on it. There's no potential development, and as it's zoned downtown for D for the living sector, it would be more of a apartment-style development that would have to take place here. And I'm guessing, since many other properties have kind of beat them to the punch on erecting downtown apartments and condos, this one really hasn't done anything since the parking lot has ceased to exist here. There's no subject sale history. If you turn to page 3, my land valuation summary, we've applied a net rate of $54.45 per square foot. I have 8 comparables here for land sales. They range from $34.35 up to $78.36. They're all fee simple, arm's length. After taking into consideration the fact that this parking lot can't generate any current income and that no development has been proposed in the past few years, it's my recommendation to reduce the 2020 assessed value from the $1,960,000 to $1,764,000, and that's using a rate of $49 per square foot approximately.
We're in agreement.
Questions, Mr. Whitford?
No.
Questions, Mr. Chair?
Does the appellant agree?
Yes. It's just quiet.
Just very quiet, no, that's all, I'm okay.
236 Osborne.
Thank you. This is file number 19-2688, roll number 12091-494000. Address is 236 Osborne Street. This is a vacant commercial property, zoning C for character, and land area 6,667 square feet. If you turn to page 2, the property is located on the corner of York and Osborne Street North. It is currently used as parking for the office building just to the south of it. There was a subject sale history from 2013, which works out for $405,000 at $60.75 per square foot. If you turn to page 3, our land valuation summary, the model has generated a net rate per square foot of $74.85. So it's on the bit of the higher end of my 8 comparables here. My comparables range from $42.12 to $86.90. I would say some of my comparables are used as more of an in-park lot where anybody can park on them and they can generate parking at various times of the day. From my understanding, this lot isn't a lot that people pay to park in the evening or anything like that. So after taking into consideration the sale and what the lot's used for, my recommendation today is to reduce the 2020 assessed value from the $499,000 to $440,000, which works out to $66 a square foot.
We agree.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Whitford?
No.
Questions, Mr.
Thank you. I think I used to park there way back.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, now on to Portage Avenue.
This is file number 19-3552, roll number 12093-625000. Address is Portage Avenue. This is a vacant commercial lot, zoned M for multiple use. And the land area is 5,648 square feet. If you turn to page 2, you can see the aerial shot. It is a narrower rectangular lot located on Portage Avenue in between 2 buildings. It's currently, for my information, just a vacant lot. I don't think anybody parks on it or anything. There is a subject sale history that's an older sale from 2009 for $550,000. I didn't really find any notes on the sale, so I can't speak to too much information on it. On page 3, I have my land valuation summary. This is net rate per square foot of $95.61 applied by the model. I have 4 land sale comparables located in the downtown. Comparable 1 is located on Gary. Not too far from the subject, it would be the east of it. Comparable 2 is located on Carlton, just off of, in between Grand and St. Mary. Comparable 3 is located on St. Mary Avenue. It's sold with a building that was demolished. It's currently being developed. And comparable 4 is located on Hargrave. This property is just more of a, I guess, older, would be residential Broadway area. That one's zone D, so there could be the potential of like a multifamily or I doubt a house, but maybe multifamily development. So that would be my highest comparable. Otherwise, our net rate per square foot falls within the range I have here today. And my recommendation is to maintain the 2020 assessed value of $540,000. Thank you. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Ryan?
Madam Chair, Ms. Santucci, you referred to it very briefly, but you're not familiar with the circumstances involving the purchase of the subject.
No, so I
Okay.
can speak to it.
Okay, that's no problem. I'll speak to that shortly. Page 3, then. We got the subject, the frontage of the subject, I believe, is 44 feet, correct?
Yes.
And clearly the frontages of the parcels you've got, with particularly 505 St. Mary's, but the other three, they're also 50 feet or greater, correct?
Yes.
And that, as you mentioned, the narrow lot, does restrict the development that can be put on as the lot gets narrower, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be a negative influence.
I would think it would limit development to be negative.
Were you aware, I'm guessing you weren't, were you aware that the city has prohibited parking on this parcel?
I assumed that parking would have been prohibited due to the size of it, but I didn't know if it was due to the similar issues of the previous lot, so, like that no parking was allowed at all.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Madam Chair, those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Whitfield?
No questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they have access on Portage. It's a 44-foot lot in the back lane.
So they have access through the lane for cars.
What about the front?
The front is just foot traffic, similar to the rest of the buildings.
Okay, so as far as you know, there's no access on Portage,
No,
just the back lane.
just the back.
And I guess your comparable number 4 is...
I think that's a higher per square foot just because.
Yeah, well, I was looking at square footage, and the others were, the two at the top were in the same size. What's the difference with those compared to this one? Would you know? I mean, they might be wider, but what else?
Someone could have paid a premium maybe if they wanted to develop like some sort of multi-family property on that one. I'm sure I didn't have any more information.
Okay, because they sold for a little higher than what you're asking, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. So, I believe you mentioned no more parking allowed here?
From my understanding, there's no parking. I didn't notice if it's like prohibited, but I'm assuming it's prohibited because they possibly could get one lane of cars in there, but if they're not doing it, then I'm assuming it's not allowed.
Okay. So it's vacant.
It's vacant, just a vacant lot.
Do you know how long it's been vacant for?
A long time because I pass it on the bus, I feel like every day, and I've never seen, I don't remember anything ever being on there myself, so.
All right. And I'm assuming no access to Portage because it looks like there's a bus shelter in front there?
Yeah, there's a bus shelter right in front of the lot.
What is that?
Yeah, that's why I know where it is.
Yeah.
My bus goes by
That's
there.
good.
Okay. And it is certainly, I'm going to say, not a desirable lot, I believe,
I'm not sure what could be
because it's
built from there.
44 square feet, or 44 frontage.
I'm sure previously, a long time ago, there was a building on it when things were a bit different, but I don't even know if they'd be allowed to build a building.
Well, that was my next question,
I
that I
know.
was going to ask you, what are the city's restrictions, even though I know that's not your department, but...
Yeah, that I'm unsure of. I'm not sure if buildings are constructed still sharing walls, because I'm sure that's what happened if there was a building here. Again, I can't even speak to ever remembering a building there, so.
Likewise. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ryan?
Thanks, Madam Chair. So, actually, you've hit upon all the salient points. And to Mr. Therian's question, no, there's no access off of Portage, and never will be. There's the bus shelter there, and certainly any access to the property ultimately, what was going to happen with it is through the back lane. B, I can state in no uncertain terms, and I'll go through my exact wording in a second, but the city has in fact prohibited parking as part of an ongoing, I guess, public policy of trying to motivate some of the landowners to develop their parcels more in terms of development, not just have more surface parking. They've actually prohibited it in this case. The 44-foot width is a real problem. I think legally they would be able to build something economically viable, not in any way, shape, or form. So I'll go back now a little bit to the beginning. And Ms. Santucci's, the sale transaction in 2009, that's consistent with our records. But here's the context. This property was purchased along with the property to the immediate west, which is, I think, known as or used to be known as the Olin building. It's a two-story office retail type building. That building and the one to the very west of that, the Boyd building. Those three properties, Boyd building, that small two-story office, and this parcel were all purchased together. So that purchase price in 2009 reflected an allocation that really had nothing to do with market value. What's happened since that time, in order to, I guess, at least try and derive some revenue from it, the owner, after he purchased it, was allowing and actually charging some parking rent, and the city put a stop to it. If you turn to our page 4, in our materials, as I mentioned, the top paragraph, the parcel's got 44 feet of frontage, and the city of Winnipeg issued an order to the owners in September of 2012, which stated, remove all vehicles from the property, and the property must be barricaded to prohibit further parking by September 30th, 2012. So what little revenue there was able to achieve from it as a parking, it was never paid, so I mean, that's, I guess, another factor here is not only did the city not want the parking to continue, they certainly, with the requirements of the surface law, like gravel or just a piece of prairie land there is not sufficient. But so they prohibited parking altogether. In an ideal world, this parcel and the property next to it, the building next to it that has been suffered from chronic vacancy and quite frankly can't even support an income valuation that's up to land value. In an ideal world, if the demand would have been there, that building would have been raised and these two lots together would have been built. There's simply been no demand for it. That two-story old building continues to be there, but very much underperforming, chronic vacancy, driving very little revenue. In fact, I think more recently has become 100% vacant. So what we've got in my respectful submission is a parcel of land of 44-foot frontage that has absolutely no, it's illegal to use it for parking, so it's only capable of possible long-term development, and then only if the demand is there such that it would make economic sense to demolish the building to the direct east of it and have a economically feasible development go up on both parcels together, and that demand just has been, is not, certainly not there. It wasn't there as a reference date, it's certainly not in even the mid-term horizon. So on page 7 of our materials, in that context was the subject, on page 7 of our materials, we've got some land sales that we've listed there in the downtown area. They range from a low of $54.85 a square foot up to a high of $84.78 a square foot. But given the very peculiar circumstances relating to the subject property, they're suggesting that the value of, in this case, of $254,000, which equals just a tick under $45 a square foot, be applied, and that's reflecting the very negative influences of this particular lot. I know in the departments, and Ms. Santucci's comments were fair, these sales, the 4 sales she's presented are they're real sales and such, but higher frontage, and if you look, for instance, at 286 Gary, it is now listed as a CMPSP, which is a surface lot, and that's the very issue that we're dealing with here is even as a surface lot, it's not legally permissible to use it for such and generate that kind of revenue. So in this context, we're asking for a value of $254,000. That, incidentally, because of the peculiar circumstances that continue to be associated with this property, $254,000 is the very same value that was ordered by this board based upon a joint recommendation at the time for the 2018 assessment as well as the 2016 assessment. I have attached the board orders for those 2 assessments on pages 12 through actually all the way to page 17. It's actually 3 cycles where it's been at the same level. And we're suggesting the value of this particular parcel, because of the complete lack of development potential, has not increased, and we're asking for that same value to be restored. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Would you agree that index number 7 isn't in the downtown? It's just kind of, I guess, could be on the edge of the zoning is.
I would agree with that. Page, so Madam Chair, my page 31, very last page of the brief, shows the location of that property. It's on the west side of Colony Street, north of Broadway. So yes, absolutely, I would agree that that's outside of the central business district.
Were you aware that index number 4 was an associated sale? The purchaser was the sole director of the vendor company?
I was not aware of that with respect to Pioneer. No, I was
Yes.
not. Oh, thank you for that.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitford?
No questions.
Mr. Terry?
Yeah, I'm not sure the city knows where we're going with this. I'm looking at your evidence, and the first, I went back 4 years, or 4, these headlands. They started at 339, then they went up to 495, then they went down to 285, and now they're back up to 540.
Yes, indeed.
So I quite frankly, this, and there were 2 different owners, maybe they're saying they were Boyd and Jags, although that might be the same outfit.
It is.
Probably.
It is, yeah.
So, I don't know, that raises questions. I think the city should try and take a good look at this, because how come it sort of jumps and up and down, and then the board has to deal with it? So I'm just raising this, not, it's in the evidence, but I don't know the answer, but it seems unusual.
To speculate, not intending to sort of presume anything if Ms. Santucci knows better, but my speculation based on my experience would be this. What the city's assessment model kicks out every cycle is a value based on predicated on the assumption that the parcel is fully capable of development, located in the downtown business district, and then taking those factors into account, the actual sales information. But what the problem is this, and I think the reason why it's going like this, but then consistently reduced to the $254,000 a lot of the time by agreement, is because while the model doesn't recognize all the negative peculiarities associated with this parcel, by the time the assessor and we, or in this case we, have reviewed it again to see if anything's changed, all of those negative influences would dictate, I'd suggest, that no increase in value, whereas the model assumes it's got sufficient frontage to be developed, and there's no impediments to development, and failing that, at least some revenue, because some of the sales have been related to service parking lots, that you could use the site as a service lot and generate revenue that way, and none of that applies here. So, Mr. Sarian, I think your question is a very good one. I'm speculating, but just based on my experience, I think the model's kicking out numbers based on incorrect assumptions as to what this parcel is capable of.
Okay, that's all. It's really not a question. It's just it's a little confusing for us. And I see that sort of movement. Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to redirect to you, Ms. Santucci. So when you were looking at your brief for this property, did you look at the history?
I looked at notes previous. I'm new to land this year. We just got land in our section. So for this one, I didn't know that parking was prohibited. I also didn't know too much about the sale, so I went in and put in, obviously, the model value, but I have all those notes now to put in our system for the next person who gets it. So
thank you. I'm just curious on
yeah,
that.
for sure, because it's similar to the last two then, where
Right. And I'm just wondering, you were talking about the Oland building, which is next door, and then the Boyd is on the other side of this?
Yeah, so you've got the subject,
Yeah.
and then Olin, and then Boyd, like
Right.
it's all side by side.
Does the Oland have any historical designation attached to it?
Not that I'm aware of, but I cannot be certain. I have not looked into that. That's a good question. I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay, because I think it's from the 30s.
Oh, yeah, it's an old building.
Yeah,
I do
okay.
know.
So I'm just curious if
I
that
think-
could be the reason why it
I think it's
hasn't
through
been
their
moved.
sheet times, and it doesn't strike me as something, but it, it's possible. It's possible.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody else freezing in here? Yeah.
Totally frozen.
Yeah, sorry.
it was cold in here on Tuesday as well.
Well, it's worse by the good thing we're out.
I got my big boots, so I'm not doing too bad. Madam Chair,
One more.
One more.
Okay.
it's not much fun in the freeze.
Okay, St. James Street.
Thank you. This is file number 19-3880. I'm not sure why the roll number didn't produce on my brief. Is it on yours? Nope.
I have.
It is, it's not on mine here, but it's 07569-135-255. Address is 914 St. James Street. So this is a vacant commercial parcel, zoned C3. The land area is quite large, it's 80,355 square feet. If you turn to page 2, you can see the aerial shots of the subject property. It's located at the corner of St. Matthews Avenue and St. James Street. It currently hasn't been developed since the strip mall that was demolished happened previously. We have no subject sale history. On page 3, I have my land valuation summary. We've applied a net rate per square foot of $38.08. My land sale comparables, I have 5. I guess the closest one would be the 875 St. James Street, comparable 2 at $28.43. Keniston, comparable 3 would also be, it's not close to subject, but similar sort of retail commercial area. I have a comparable 4 is located on Portage Avenue, comparable 5 is on King Edward, and comparable 1 is on 800 Ferry. That one's actually zoned M2, and so is comparable number 5. After reviewing that nothing has been proposed to be developed since the last building was demolished, and my recommendation today would actually be to reduce the 2020 assessed value from the $3,060,000 to $2,812,000, which brings the rate per square foot to $34.99, which seems to fall within my comparables and better represent this property's value. So that's my recommendation, my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
We agree.
Questions, Mr. Whitford?
No.
Questions?
Thank you. You won't freeze down that in the chair.
Thank you. This hearing is concluded.